I think it's time you and I both went on a diet. Now, I'm not talking about an eating diet, although I guess it could be that. I'm at the weight where I don't feel the need to diet for my physical size, but I'm talking about a different kind of diet. Not an eating diet, but a thinking and behavior diet. A new way of thinking, a new way of behaving. See, if your life is not exactly as you want it to be right now, then you can change it by changing little things, like changing the way you think and then changing the way you act. You see, your existing patterns make your life the way it is right now. If you don't interrupt those patterns, it stays the way it is right now. So pattern interruptions, number one, well actually step number one is self-awareness. Look around, see if this is what you want, okay? Pattern number two, if this is not what you want, is interrupt the pattern so you can start choosing a new pattern of thinking and a new pattern of behavior. Many years ago, I had never achieved anything particularly noteworthy. I was in my 20s, mid-20s, and I had a nice job and things were starting to go my way, and so I'd started doing some goal setting and getting my act together, trying to be a better person than I had been just by osmosis. And I decided I need to learn to think like people that have abundant lives. I need to behave like people who are really getting things done, making a difference in the world. So I created what I called my thought diet. Thought diet. Now this is not about food, remember? Although it could be about food if that's one of your priorities. My thought diet has three parts. By the way, you think about a diet, it lists the things you're going to do and not do. I'm going to eat these things, I'm not going to eat these things. I'm going to exercise and I'm going to do these, and so forth, right? Well, the same thing's true for a thought diet. No, it's got three steps to it, number one of which is my current primary goal. On this card that I created for myself, notice it's about the size of a business card. I have a section up here where it says my current primary goal, and there's just a blank. Well, if you don't know what you want, if you haven't given much thought to what you want in your life, how you'd like to see your life evolve, then there's not anything to put in that space yet. And that's your homework. Step number one, what do you want? Write down your current primary goal. Now, I started out wanting something I had never done. I wanted to be involved in the field of professional speaking and training. I had never been a speaker. I'd never given a speech and I had nothing to say. That'll keep you modest. And so I said, I want to be a professional speaker. How do I write that down? I decided to write it this way. Now this was 1974. I said, by September 1, 1979, I will be a national expert in the field of personal growth. That's the way I wrote it down. In other words, I wanted to be involved in the field of human development, what's known as applied behavioral science, practical psychology, and I wanted to be one of the leading experts in the nation. I was starting from scratch. I had nothing going for me in that field. I had no college degree, I had no money in the bank, I was overweight, out of shape, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. It was basically just a nice-mannered loser. And so I write down, I'm going to be a national expert in personal development? I don't think so. Wasn't likely. But I was in a seminar where they were teaching goal setting, and that's what I wrote down. And then step number two, this part of the card says 5 traits I am developing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's where I listed 5 personal qualities I wanted to develop so that I could become the kind of person who would ultimately be a leading expert in the field of personal development. One of those was discipline. I needed to start with little daily actions, building the discipline that would allow me to get myself to do the things that I needed to do, regardless of whether I felt like it yet. So I had to learn self-discipline. A lot of people say to me today, oh, you're self-disciplined, this is easy for you. Didn't start out that way. Self-discipline was a muscle I had to work out when it was sore every time I used it, right? So I wrote down self-discipline, I wrote down a number of other traits, but just 5 of many traits that I wanted to cultivate. And those 5 traits were the ones most likely to make me reach my goal, okay? After I had developed those 5 traits in writing, I went to the back of the card and I listed minimum daily actions. Now what I mean by minimum daily actions is, like I talk about in one of these messages, just put on your running shoes. If you can't get yourself to work out, just put on your running shoes and step outside. Minimum action that gets the ball rolling, right? And so I listed the areas of my life that needed my attention. My mind, my body, my spirit, my emotions, my friends, my family, my career, and my finances. In each of those areas, I had dreams and goals of things I wanted to achieve. And if I could just identify one thing, like in finances, I said, I will record every penny that comes through my life today. So I had a little notebook where I wrote down, if I found a nickel on the street, I would write down found a nickel. If I spent 15 cents on a candy bar, I would write 15 cents on a candy bar. If someone gave me a gift, I would write it down, you know, like $50 for a birthday or something. I wrote everything related to money down every day. And it was awkward, and I got a lot of pushback on it at first. People saying, why, don't bother with that, you know what you spent. It was important to me, not to them. I was the one who was trying to grow his ability and strength as a financial person, not them. So forget the feedback, do the job, right? And I had something for each of those areas. Like for family, I wrote, spend 10 minutes in direct conversation with my wife and with my son today. You think, Jim, you live with them, for heaven's sakes. 10 minutes? You know, that'll happen without you even thinking. No, no, no. I'm talking about intentional, face-to-face conversation. Focused on them and listening. Not just saying, hey, where did we put the ketchup, right? Not just casual conversation. 10 minutes. And those 10 minutes led to 30 minutes and led to some really powerful moments and some deeply meaningful experiences together. So as I could get myself systematically over time to do all of my minimum daily actions, kind of check them off at the end of the day, then the 5 traits I wanted to develop became more a part of who I was instead of something I wanted to go and achieve somewhere else. And the goal that I wanted slowly became more and more possible. 5 years later, I was a full-time speaker and trainer flying around the country doing seminars. When I started out, I was a government clerk making $525 a month as an assistant to a man who was not busy and didn't need an assistant. 5 years and did it. Now you say, well, you weren't one of the leading authorities in. Okay, well, that's arguable. Let's say you're right. Still, I went from nowhere to being a full-time trainer flying around the country being paid to teach other people skills in the area of human development. After that, I went on to build a business, a number of businesses that I bought and sold, and partnerships with other people, collaborations, co-authorships. Today, standing here looking at you, I've written and published 18 books, 3 of which have become international bestsellers. I've had an audio program that I recorded sell $3.5 million in its first 2 years of publication and take me from obscurity to international prominence. I've been the president of my industry association, and I've won every award that is available in the field of professional speaking and training. Wow! That's not because I'm some giant intellect or killer talent. That's because I decided what I wanted, assumed sooner or later it was going to be possible, although it might be difficult along the way, and then I did the little things day to day. I just put on my running shoes, stepped out the door. I just picked up the book and read 1 page of it. You know, I just said to my wife, hey, you got a minute? Let's talk. Things like that started the process. And all those qualities I wanted made me more of the person I had dreamed and aspired to be, which made other people more open to spending quality time with me. And they started opening doors for me and giving me opportunities and asking me for my input. And today, my career is still going strong. I've just recently developed a huge following in China, published 3 of my books in Mandarin over there. I go over there 2 or 3 times a year and address thousands of people at a time for 6 hours a day. And I got to tell you, I'm having more fun than it's reasonable for a grown-up to have. This is also possible for you. I'm no great intellect. Take what you've got and just build on it little by little. Just go on a thought diet. And I'll bet you, within a very short period of time, you'll see an abundant life you didn't even realize was possible.